mic check. You from Gravity, are the nicest. Match time, my city, are the hypest. We see them gyal wind up in a some liquor tight dress. Me hustle from morning till night catch. Them finno Guyanese, get a youth not like rest. House and car, them finno we like press. Check the bank line them, we not like check. We got gold and diamond, them thing priceless. Timber bauxite, then check the aisle next. GDF, Miami is the finest. I mean I talk about the sugar, nor the rice yet. So I'm Marshall, I drop the Guyanese bomb. For feed the nation, that's the Guyanese plan. Big up a kilo, them with them Guyanese slang. Guyana, that's where them Guyanese from. People tour around the world and ask about Guyana, but don't know where that is. That is the last city of El Dorado in the world. That is the land where we live. Land of the biggest one drop falls. Plus we have the longest floating bridge. We from South America, some say the Caribbean, but still at times we are get. I came from a land, it have many water, many great sons and many daughter. Is we have the land, what many ask for, we never see Katrina or those disaster. I feel nice, we come from the golden city, gal born in gold dust, so we sure them pretty. The man full of faith, we not know none must slippy. Guyana we say big up on the city. Enough people tour around the world and ask about Guyana, but don't know where that is. That is the last city of El Dorado in the world. That is the land where we live. Land of the biggest one drop fast. Plus we have the longest floating bridge. We from South America, some say the Caribbean, but still a thanks we a give. Hello, Wagwan. I the nuclear family, every master one up fully. A one-time records.
They came on the scene, all flashy and loud, talking about nationhood, trying to wow the crowd. But now their campaign got a glitch in the line, 'cause them Ira Bank said transaction declined. Oh no, can't cash that check, your party's tied to a financial wreck. AML rules got your dreams confined. Click, click, boom, account declined. Duarte and Natasha said it's not fair, but sanctions don't play musical chairs. They blame the system, they shout and whine, but forgot to read the compliance fine print line. Now they holla persecution, what a spin, while the red flags wave from deep within. No receipts, no plans, just drama and tweets, trying to buy Guyana with scandalous sheets. Account declined. So next time you build a party brand, don't do it with smuggled gold in hand, 'cause banks don't bend for noise and shine. They just send you mail, you're out of the line. Very soon, very shortly, your manifesto gone ghostly, and your bank account Tuesday. They came on the scene, all flashy and loud, talking about nationhood, trying to wow the crowd. But now their campaign got a glitch in the line, 'cause them Ira Bank said transaction declined. Oh no, can't cash that check, your party's tied to a financial wreck. AML rules got your dreams confined. Click, click, boom, account declined. Duarte and Natasha said it's not fair, but sanctions don't play musical chairs. They blame the system, they shout and whine, but forgot to read the compliance fine print line. Now they holla persecution. execution. What a spin while the red flags wave from deep within. No receipts, no plans, just drama and tweets. Trying to buy Guyana with scandalous sheets. No, no, can't swipe that card. The bank pulled back, said this risk's too hard. You dance with gold, expect to shine. Nah, big man, account declined. So next time you build a party brand, don't do it with smuggled gold in hand. 'Cause banks don't bend for noise and shine. They just send you mail, you're out of the line. Very soon, very shortly, your manifesto gone ghostly, and your bank account Tuesday.
Yo, nowhere, where, PNC, nowhere.
Want you find something that's selling these again. Over and about and I personally go to
Odessa, what really go on? Odessa pack up she suitcase with fish for Auntie Melly Mel. Saltfish snap her whole market, she a shell. Board the plane, say she reaching well. Touchdown JFK, big dream she a tell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Back on the plane, no time fit well. Mash up the thing, sanction man from hell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Next flight back, no NYC spell. Blame it pan the man, sanction man rebel. Odessa says she done with plane. She sticking to the boat, less stress, less strain. Tell Auntie Melly catch a fish in the drain. Cause visa dreams mash up in vain again. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Back on the plane, no time fit well. Mash up the thing, sanction man from hell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Next flight back, no NYC spell. Blame it pan the man, sanction man rebel. Odessa pack up she suitcase with fish for Auntie Melly Mel. Saltfish snap her whole market, she a shell. Board the plane, say she reaching well. Touchdown JFK, big dream she a tell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Back on the plane, no time fit well. Mash up the thing, sanction man from hell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Next flight back, no NYC spell. Blame it pan the man, sanction man rebel. Odessa says she done with plane. She sticking to the boat, less stress, less strain. Tell Auntie Melly catch a fish in the drain. Cause visa dreams mash up in vain again. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Back on the plane, no time fit well. Mash up the thing, sanction man from hell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Next flight back, no NYC spell. Blame it pan the man, sanction man rebel.
Want you find something that's selling these again. Over and about and I personally go to
Odessa, what really go on? Odessa pack up she suitcase with fish for Auntie Melly Mel. Saltfish snap her whole market, she a shell. Board the plane, say she reaching well. Touchdown JFK, big dream she a tell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Back on the plane, no time fit well. Mash up the thing, sanction man from hell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Next flight back, no NYC spell. Blame it pan the man, sanction man rebel. Odessa says she done with plane. She sticking to the boat, less stress, less strain. Tell Auntie Melly catch a fish in the drain. Cause visa dreams mash up in vain again. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Back on the plane, no time fit well. Mash up the thing, sanction man from hell. Boom! One stamp, then immigration yell. Sorry ma'am, your visa get cancelled. Next flight back, no NYC spell. Blame it pan the man, sanction man rebel.
Want you find something that's selling these again. Over and about and I personally go to
They came on the scene, all flashy and loud, trying to wow the crowd. But now their campaign got a glitch in the line. Cause Demerara Bank said transaction declined. Oh no! Can't cash that check. Your party's tied to a financial wreck. AML rules got your dreams confined. Click, click, boom, account declined. Duarte and Natasha said it's not fair, but sanctions don't play musical chairs. They blame the system, they shout and whine, but forgot to read the compliance fine print line. Now they holla persecution, what a spin, while the red flags wave from deep within. No receipts, no plans, just drama and tweets, trying to buy Guyana with scandalous sheets. No, no, can't swipe that card. The bank pulled back, said this risk's too hard. You dance with gold, expect to shine. Nah, big man, account declined. So next time you build a party brand, don't do it with smuggled gold in hand. Cause banks don't bend for noise and shine. They just send you mail, you're out of the line. Very soon, very shortly, your manifesto gone ghostly, and your bank account Tuesday. Trying to wow the crowd, but now their campaign got a glitch in the line. Cause Demerara Bank said transaction declined. Oh no! Can't cash that check. Your party's tied to a financial wreck. AML rules got your dreams confined. Click, click, boom, account declined. Duarte and Natasha said it's not fair, but sanctions don't play musical chairs. They blame the system, they shout and whine, but forgot to read the compliance fine print line. Now they holla persecution, what a spin, while the red flags wave from deep within. No receipts, no plans, just drama and tweets, trying to buy Guyana with scandalous sheets. No, no, can't swipe that card. The bank pulled back, said this risk's too hard. You dance with gold, expect to shine. Nah, big man, account declined. So next time you build a party brand, don't do it with smuggled gold in hand. Cause banks don't bend for noise and shine. They just send you mail, you're out of the line. Very soon, very shortly, your manifesto gone ghostly, and your bank account Tuesday.
Hey, yo, my G, where you from?
Guyana.
Ghana?
No, Guyana.
Yeah.
Hello, Wagwan.
Yeah.
I came from a land, it have many water, many great sons and many daughters. And we have the land here where many ask for. We never see Katrina, nah those disaster. I feel nice we come from the golden city. Girl born in gold dust, so we show them pretty. The man full of faith, me nah know none was slippy. Guyana me say big up on no city. Cause this is the dear land of the free, land of the many waters, resources and trees, land of the rivers and seas. I proud, Phoebe, Guyanese, land of the Amerindians, the Africans, the East Indians, and Portuguese, not to mention the Europeans and the Chinese. Them feel blessed from Guyana beach breeze. Cause enough people tour around the world and ask about Guyana, but don't know where that is. That is the last city of El Dorado in the world. That is the land where we live, land of the biggest one drop falls. Plus we have the longest floating bridge. We from South America, some say the Caribbean, but still a thanks we a give. Alright, 1, 2, mic check. View from gravity, are the nicest. Match time, my city, are the hypest. We see them gyal wind up in a some liquor tight dress. We are hustle from morning till night catch. Them finno Guyanese, get a youth not like rest. House and car, them finno we like press. Check the bank line them, we not like check. We got gold and diamond, them thing priceless. Timber bauxite, then check the aisle next. GDF, Miami is the finest. I mean I talk about the sugar, nor the rice yet. So a Marshall, I drop the Guyanese bomb for feed the nation, that's the Guyanese plan. Big up a kilo, them with them Guyanese and Guyana, that's where them Guyanese from. People tour around the world and ask about Guyana, but don't know where that is. That is the last city of El Dorado in the world. That is the land where we live, land of the biggest one drop falls. Plus we have the longest floating bridge. We from South America, some say the Caribbean, but still a thanks we a give. I came from a land, it have many water, many great sons and many daughter. Is we have the land what many ask for. We never see Katrina or nah those disaster. I feel nice we come from the golden city. Girl born in gold dust, so we sure them pretty. The man full of faith, we nah know none was slippy. Guyana we say big up on no city. Enough people tour around the world and ask about Guyana, but don't know where that is. That is the last city of El Dorado in the world. That is the land where we live, land of the biggest one drop falls. Plus we have the longest floating bridge. We from South America, some say the Caribbean, but still a thanks we a give. Hello, Wagwan. I the nuclear family, every master one up fully. A one-time records, a 592, we think that. Hello, Wagwan.
We're ready to go with Courdel Jones. You know it's gonna be real from 8 to 9, bringing vibes you can feel. News, views, and what's hot today will keep you wide in every way. Livewire, tune in and feel the spark. Every morning, lighting up your heart. Courdel's here, bringing life to your day. Monday to Friday, we're paving the way. Up the day is bright, time to feel the flow. Turn your dial to Livewire, we're ready to go. With Courdel Jones, you know it's gonna be real. From 8 to 9, from 8 to 9, bringing vibes you can feel. News, views, and what's hot today will keep you wired in every way. We'll keep you wired every way, in every way. Livewire, tune in and feel the spark. Every morning lighting up your heart. Courdel's here, bringing life to your day. Monday to Friday, we're paving the way. Stories that matter, we got the scoop. From the latest headlines to the local truth. It's your community, your voice, your power. Livewire hits you every hour. So grab your coffee, your tea, or toast. With Courdel Jones, we'll give you the most. Livewire, we'll give you the way. To the energy, the beat of the street, the show that connects, it's where people meet. We're wired to your world, we got the news. On Livewire, there's nothing to lose. Livewire, tune in and feel the spark. Every morning, lighting up your heart. Courdel's here, bringing life to your day. Monday to Friday, we're paving the way. Livewire, tune in and feel the spark. Every morning, lighting up your heart. Monday to Friday, we're paving the way. Livewire, tune in and feel the spark. Every morning lighting up your heart. Courdel's here, bringing life to your day. Monday to Friday, we're paving the way. Community, your voice, your power. Livewire hits you every hour.
Good morning to you guys. Welcome to another episode of Livewire. Why is my speaker hissing like that? Anyway, really happy to be here with you on the 23rd of July, 2025. It's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful day. I hope everybody had a wonderful night's rest. Right? And to all those persons, darn, I was supposed to bring this prop down. And for all those persons who can take themselves to a financial institution this morning and conduct some business, more so the Demerara Bank institution, special good morning to you. Look, listen, I am being so serious with y'all right now. Right? I am so serious with y'all right now. I was patiently waiting. Good morning to you watching us from the UK. Yeah. Sorry. I was reading a message. But I was waiting for when this sort of kicked in. Now, if y'all remember, when our boy, and my apologies, I had to pivot a little bit. We were supposed to have Geeta Chandan Edmonds on this morning. However, we'll have Joel Bagwardin on to give us a better idea of probably why the bank took the route that it took, and whether this is in keeping with financial policies and risk management for financial institutions. As a financial analyst, he's the best. He would be the best person to talk to us about that. But I want to remind you guys, if you remember, when this grown child man, Dr. DeForge, when Dr. DeForge joined T. Mohammed's, he tried to distance himself from the financial aspect of it. So outright, he was like, "We taking no money," right? But really, you're not taking no money. You're not handling any money. So you're trying to tell me at all these locations, all these persons you're mobilizing, is Azardine making all the payments? Right? Is Azardine making the payments? As I would remember, As would have said that he is funding his campaign from his savings. So it's his personal money. So people like Doggy, who said publicly, "I'm going around paying people. I'm going around organizing people." You're paying persons with the Mohammed's money. So I guess the next account to go may be Bradley Sampson's bank account. You understand? Do they think people are stupid? How are you a part of a political party that is being funded by a sanctioned individual? Y'all ain't contributing no money. He money spending. Y'all are using the things that the money spend on. Gas, clothes, flags. All of that money is sanctioned money. So you are partaking, right? You are partaking. Now, listen, matter of fact, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, these guys finally get the wake-up call? These guys got the wake-up call yesterday? Oh, Lord. And I don't know how many of you watched the press conference, but Odessa literally laughing at them. Odessa was laughing at them. Odessa's like, shit, at least I still got me bank account. They take me visa, but I can go to the ATM tomorrow and do a little transaction.
2025.
Right.
This decision was made in compliance with our internal policies and banking requirements.
So they had a press conference yesterday. Before I even continue, this guy here, right? Based on my knowledge, this guy was the former personal assistant or PA to Lowenfield. What is this guy doing back in the public side? This guy should have disappeared into a corner somewhere and mind his business. You couldn't successfully rig under the chief elections officer. Now you find yourself into this new worries. It's good for you. You want to collect your bank draft and try it.
To ensure a smooth transition, effective immediately, no further deposits will be accepted.
We want on your
into
money.
your account, and they've listed the account's number. If the accounts are not closed by July 25, 2025, we will close them automatically. Any remaining funds will be converted into a banker's draft and held at the bank's Camp and South Road branch for your collection. I read and I thought that...
Right, we can skip forward. Because this guy basically said the same thing to get a letter and whatnot.
Stretch of the imagination. And I sitting here stating clearly what this is. This is an attempt to undermine a democratic process.
Now listen to me. What in the F's name is this guy talking about? Right? Now, I want to take some time to show you why the bank account closures of these win candidates make sense. And this is from a layman standpoint. We can get the technicalities from Mr. Bagwodin at around 8:30. Right? Now, let me make it clear to these three worries on your screen right now. You lied with sanction dogs. You lied with sanction dogs. And now you woke up with frozen accounts. Right? When dogs go out and play in the fields, what does come back with? Fleas and ticks. You lied with a sanction dog. Now you woke up with your accounts frozen and you're surprised. You understand? T. Mohammed's party candidates did not just associate with us. They embraced him as their political godfather. Us. You understand? Now, as everybody knows, us is under US sanctions for gold smuggling and financial crimes. Demerara Bank simply did what any responsible institution would do: mitigate risk and protected its international standing. So, Mr. Lowenfield staffer, former staffer, this isn't persecution. This is prevention. You ever hear boss man or people say, prevention better than cure? Prevention better than cure? The bank realizes that instead of them having to work on going back into good standing, it's best they remain in good standing. Hence, the term prevention better than cure. You know the work that bank would have to do to put itself back in good standing with the international banks it has to deal with, the Visa card services that it offers. You guys are out of your minds. You guys are out of your minds to think that the bank can put itself at risk for you and sanction boss. Now, understand clearly, right? Every single bank in this country, they're under pressure to comply with the international AML CTF, anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism rules. Every single bank in this country has to comply, right? If T. Mohammed's candidates are getting their campaign money from a sanctioned source, the money coming from a sanctioned source. So even if they say, well, it's me money I'm spending, people don't know. If Natasha or the other guy go to deposit $1 million, the bank ain't know where to come from. So they're worried, right? So you guys may be campaigning with money from a sanctioned source. And because of that, you have to understand the bank's move is not political persecution. You understand? It is not political persecution. No, you can't build a movement on dirty money and expect clean banking. Right? They talk about change. The Forge talks about it's a new era. But how can you or Sanction Man or Odessa be the face of a clean campaign? Well, chasing checks signed by somebody under global sanctions. Let me be clear with y'all this morning. Let me be clear with you this morning. Demerara Bank just did what GRA, SOKU, and I dare say GCOM should have done months ago. And you know what that is? Draw a blood clot line in the sand and saying, well, okay, this is enough. This is enough. Could you imagine these guys, instead of using a local company, shipping most of the memorabilia, the campaign stuff? Mohammed's money used to clear that, you know, and GRA process that. Madness. Madness. Now, I must remind persons that the General Secretary of the PDP would have warned persons about this being a likely occurrence. Right? Warned about this being a likely occurrence. And he didn't mince words. I quote, if you're aligned with sanctioned individuals, there will be consequences. You understand? This wasn't a secret. This was a well-publicized warning. And still persons chose to F around. And now they're finding out in public. Now they're finding out in public. So trying to play victim after playing with fire, the Guyanese people saying, nah, we want to hear that. Team Mohammed is now crying foul, pretending to be David fighting Goliath. But nobody held a gun to their heads to tell them to team up with this politically radioactive financer. Right? You can't spend tainted money all week and then complain when the ATM says transaction decline. What's wrong with you? Now, again, I want to make it clear to you, and when Joel gets here, he will break it down into further detail. This is not just about internal policy, right? The bank, in my opinion, was being very reserved and nice to say internal policy. This situation for the Demerara Bank is about international survival, right? What do I mean by international survival? Banks like Demerara, right, rely on correspondent banks or banking relationships with US and EU institutions. European Union, in case nobody knows what EU means, right? One wrong move with a sanctioned individual and the whole institution face blacklisting. Right? So you could have an account at Demerara, and one morning you get up and realize you can't you're a business person, you shop overseas to bring in whatever. You realize you can't use your card to shop overseas. The bank you got can't send wire transfer from one bank to another bank overseas. Right? And all sorts of things that spin off and spill off from that blacklisting. So I don't see anything wrong with what Demerara Bank did. In life as humans, we deal with self-preservation. We look at how we will survive. We do what we do so that we can survive. Same thing with the banking institutions. They got to survive, right? So again, closing winner conks was self-preservation for the Demerara Bank, not sabotage. Right? So when you build your party, your political party, on smuggled gold and delusions of grandeur, Lamborghini for everybody. Don't act surprised when the banking system says access denied. This isn't persecution. It's common sense compliance. Whidden didn't get caught off guard. They just never thought the system would actually push back. You understand? They didn't think the system would push back. They thought that they get away with GRA and the guy in the police force the other day. So they felt untouchable. They felt untouchable. But the bank reached out and touched you. You understand? And look at the three of you. Look at the three of you. Look how one man impact the three of your lives so heavily. One can't travel and go to the States no more. And the two of y'all got to go and find new banking institutions. And you got hope that Republic Bank, Scotia Bank, GBTI, or Citizen Bank decide to dance with the devil. You understand? And collect the two of y'all or whoever else. I hear a couple more of them in the pipeline to get lashed up. Now, quickly before Joel jumps in, I ain't see signing as yet. But I want to talk about something as well. I want to talk about this very soon, very shortly, manifesto talk from these, in my opinion, idiots in the T. Mohammed clan. Right? So, as far as I'm concerned, T. Mohammed's very soon, very shortly equates to very suspicious, very sloppy for me. We're less than 6 weeks away from elections, and the T. Mohammed's party still doesn't have a published manifesto or a snippet or a handout or nothing. All they're going around doing is sharing flags and t-shirts, not telling a soul what they're going to do. Mark de France, I'm sorry to call you out your name, Mark. Mark the Forge on Facebook talking about you got to get an imam, a pandit, a pastor to go and pray for Gaisuko. That's the policy for Gaisuko. That's the ignorance of these people. Could you imagine? He sit down on a live and talking about spiritual intervention to save Gaisuko. Mark, there's grounds for you to get knuckle, buddy. Nobody don't knuckle Mark for you here, I inciting violence. But them is thing like when big people hear they'll turn talk, stop chatting them. You understand? Voters are supposed to trust a party that can't even deliver a policy document on time. Y'all serious? Right? You can't campaign on vibes and vague promises. Improved governance, better quality of life. Those are not policies. They're buzzwords without a blueprint. What are their plans for the economy, education, security? They don't say. You know why? Because they don't have none. Now, this is a clear case of theater guild over substance. Small stage production. We can't even put this Team Mohammed's crew on Culture Center stage, that big stage, that one platform. They gotta go theater guild. You understand? Team Mohammed is saying they'll invite the media for an exciting manifesto launch. But where's the substance? This is classic optics over outcome. Throw a party, flashy lights, and hope nobody notices. They have nothing to offer. Even the PNC going around lying to people right now. I mean the APNU, well, the PNC. Even they're going around lying to people right now. Y'all ain't even trying. Y'all ain't even trying. Very soon, very shortly. Y'all are not even trying. You ain't even selling dreams. You ain't even telling people, look, everybody getting a Lambo. Everybody getting a Ferrari. You ain't even selling dreams. It's crazy. It is crazy. Today, still no manifesto. But already crying about banks and conspiracies. Give me the manifesto. We want to hear about your personal problems. Whatever issue you got with the bank, you got to try there. We talking to you about the public office that you seeking. You understand? We want to know what you're going to do in there. We want to know what you got in your bank account. We want to know who closed your bank account. Talk to me about what you're going to do. You got to remember, Natasha Smith-Lewis ain't really ever do nothing. There's that you heard from her is probably the most you'd hear from her. And it's not nothing of substance. The other guy, he associated to a chief elections rigger. You understand? Odessa, again, a comedian. Nothing of substance. Nothing of substance. Not one person in the Win Party could say to you or speak on a policy point. Anyone. The Forge, us, Optimus Prime, nobody. It's Beership and nobody. Right? They are more focused on playing victims about their bank account than presenting policy ideas. Team Mohammed's Guyanese want answers, not distractions. Why is it easier for Team Mohammed's to host a press conference about internal policies than it is to explain their own? We get a press conference about people's personal bank account before we get a press conference about how they will impact Guyana, how they can change Guyana. Actually highlighting some things that they claim are going wrong in Guyana. You don't have a press conference with that yet. But your thinking personal bank account, we got here about. Guyanese don't care, Natasha. The three of you Guyanese don't care. They don't care. Right? Now, who is writing this manifesto? Because clearly, I don't think it's us. Is there sanctioned financer putting together the manifesto? Because he every time you ask him about it, error, brain cannot compute. Right? Now, you have to understand that this party is new. At the end of the day, they don't come with any kind of track record, no sort of transparency, and now we continue to see no manifesto. This is the same party that cannot explain its internal leadership. This is the same party that dodges accountability. This is the same party that spreads disinformation. Now they're asking Guyanese to vote on blind faith. That's not democracy, that's deception. Every other political party, and that's why I say I could respect the PNC and the AFC, because at least they're making an effort to lie to the Guyanese people. At least they're putting out some effort to lie to the Guyanese people. Even if it's a party claiming all the ideas on women empowerment and empowering persons with disabilities, they are the persons who generated those thoughts. Nobody else in the world had an idea like that. Or if it's a political party that just making you a damn fool. Oh, we raised the minimum wage to 400,000. Threshold tax threshold 400,000. Rent to own. We gonna make UJ free, even though it's free already. At least they're making some effort to deceive people. All y'all doing soon, shortly, coming soon. You understand? Guyanese are too smart to buy this coming soon nonsense. Right? Guyana isn't a movie trailer. Guyana isn't a movie trailer coming soon. This is about running a country. If you can't plan your campaign properly, how will you plan Guyana's future? So, Team Mohammed says their manifesto is coming soon. Very soon, very shortly. Sounds like their policies are stuck in the same place as their accountability, missing. You can't fix a country with vibes and slogans. Guyanese deserve real plans, not political karaoke. Right? Not political karaoke. Joel, look, at the end of the day, there's more to come in relation to this, right? There's more to come in relation to this. And y'all just stand by. That's all I could say. Y'all stand by. I don't know why Joel hasn't signed in as yet. All right, so yeah, I think I heard him just sign in there. So we'll move forward. Now, as I said, I wanted to have Joel talk to you guys so you can have a better understanding of what's really going on. Right? If we base our understanding on what we hear from these individuals here, we would definitely continue to run away with the wrong idea. Right? So I see Joel is still mobile, so let's give him a couple of minutes. I'm hoping that he's home and he's going to settle in. Well, oh Lord. All right, guys, so we're gonna bring in Joel here. I think he's heading out. Joel, morning. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
Morning, Courdel. Thank you for for having me to deal with this very serious and important matter.
Yeah. So, Joel, let's jump right into the financial and the compliance angle of this here. Now, can you break down the compliance risks that banks like Demerara face when individuals associated with sanctioned persons open accounts? And is this purely policy or political? Your thoughts?
So I saw the members of the Team Mohammed party who lost their bank accounts. They're now crying foul and claiming some sort of political victimization. That claim, let me state very categorically, that claim is completely unfounded, has no credible basis and merit whatsoever. This thing, when this sanction was announced by OFAC, when the sanction took effect by OFAC, all the government, other professionals, including myself, would have written extensively, would have appeared in programs such as yours, as well as national television in some cases, to explain the implications of the OFAC sanction and how it would impact the economy, how it would impact the financial system. Persons were allowed, unfortunately, persons allow themselves, some persons, not everybody, not this is not the entire country, but a few persons, unfortunately, allow themselves to be misled by the sanctioned individual, by the sanctioned individual
Right.
who is telling people that the sanction only applies to their business, that it only applies to them doing business with North America, with the United States, that the sanction will soon be removed. That is completely misleading. Even if the sanctions are to be removed, it is not automatic because the process through which those sanctions were imposed was not a simple process. Somebody didn't just wake up in the US Treasury Department and said, let's sanction these people.
Right.
It was the result of years of ongoing investigation by the US authorities, years even before 2015. There is a documentary to that end by Al Jazeera. You could Google
Yeah, I
and
remember
find that.
that. I
There is a
remember that.
documentary. That documentary was made, which is Al Jazeera is an international news agency. That documentary was made since before APNO was in power, since before 2015, a long time back,
Right.
maybe about 10 years or more ago.
Right.
So this is not something that somebody just wake up one night, one morning at the US Treasury said, let's sanction these people. This is a serious matter. This is a serious matter, and people are confusing this sanction with other forms of sanction that are less severe. When I say less severe for a country. You can
Right.
have personal sanctions whereby you're subject to visa revocation and travel restrictions, but that does not impact the country or the
Right.
financial system because those were for different reasons. Here, this is a sanction for financial crimes, international financial crimes, pursuant to the international financial crimes in relation to money laundering, drug trafficking, and smuggling, gold smuggling. So the Anti Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Act that is in place of Guyana was implemented or enacted rather, in 2003.
Mm.
And that act was enacted in Guyana to be in conformity with international conventions as regards money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism, to protect the international financial system.
Right.
So, as long as you are a country, your country, this is not the era where we have closed economy anymore. There was a time There was a time hundreds of years ago where countries were closed economies. There were countries were closed economies, meaning they were not engaged in doing business with the rest of the world. They were not engaged in international trade and international transactions through the financial system. But the world we live in today, we now have almost every country. You just have maybe few countries that are sanctioned, like Venezuela, that are cut off from the financial system. I'll come back to
Mm.
Venezuela in a moment. So because we are an open economy, we're integrated in the global economy, we're integrated in the global financial system. It therefore means we are subjected to international treaties, international laws, international conventions, and international financial regulations that governs the international financial system, and by extension govern, we have to adopt those conventions and abide by them.
Right.
If we don't, we subject the country to those risks whereby we can lose those international relationships, correspondent banking relationships. So that is the origin of the anti-money laundering law. Before 2003, we had no such law in Guyana, and so
Mm.
before 2003, you could have you could have gone to the bank and just present your ID card and open an account without being asked too many questions.
Right.
That
No.
when that act came into being, the banks now, the financial sector in this country, had to comply with that act. And so, under the anti-money laundering legislation, there are categories of customers who are considered high risk. So you have high risk category of customers, you have medium risk category of customers, and you have low risk category of customers. Flowing from the act, you have regulations, and those regulations and the act, you can find it on the internet. If you want to look to us, if you want me to point you in a specific direction where to find all of them in one place, you just have to go on the Bank of Guyana website, and you'll
Okay.
find the act as well as the regulations.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I would urge Guyanese, I would urge our people to read these regulations. So under the act, you have these three category of risk. On the high risk category, you have politically exposed person as one. Other high risk customers under the Act are gold miners, real estate operators and developers, cash intensive business, cambios, gold miners. Those are high net worth individuals and families. Those are the categories, including politically exposed person. Now the act clearly defines who is a politically exposed person. It clearly defines. The
Mm.
act also prescribes that financial institutions under this act ought to develop appropriate risk management framework, risk management procedures, and mechanisms to identify who is a politically exposed person. So
Okay.
you would recall that the general secretary in the press conference last night said, "Oh, the bank took these people. Obviously, it took the list from this party and identify all these people." Of course, that is what it would do with everybody. Every 5 years, or every time you have an election and a new government is sworn in, all those new members, the bank now have to update their database of PEPs. So they
Okay.
won't call you and tell you we're updating this database. The banks would pull all these lists and update their list of the database of PEP. Now, why were their bank account closed? And the reason their bank accounts were, the reason why the bank took action is because they associate themselves with an OFAC sanctioned individual. And here you have, this is one individual in Ghana or one entity in Ghana that is the subject of OFAC sanction out of 17,000 individuals and entities sanctioned by OFAC who are the subject of OFAC sanctions out of 7 billion people in the world. So this is not something ordinary or something that we must not take seriously. This is a serious matter. This is serious business.
Mm.
So they are already OFAC sanctioned, and therefore all those persons on the candidate list, all those persons who are openly affiliated and associated are subjecting themselves rather to those risks, are subjecting themselves to those risks.
No,
So
Joel, some
uh,
candidates are crying victim, claiming political persecution.
no, they ought to know
But
this.
you're saying that this is not the case.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just I would urge them go and get legal counsel. Go and read the act. Go and read the law. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. Read the law, what it says. And this
Mm.
thing too, the other thing is that one may ask a reasonable question. So how is it they are PEP? What about the other PEPs from the other? What about members from the PPP who are PEPs? There is no other person except for me, Thomas. There is no other person in the PPP, and she was relieved of her duties. I see they keep using her, calling her name and stuff. She was relieved of her duties, and she's not a member. She's not she's not on the PPP candidate
Candidate.
list
Right.
list of candidates. So all the other politicians and all the other persons who are PEP have not been sanctioned by OFAC.
Right.
So, and it does not mean that because you're a PEP under the AML laws and regulation, that you can't do business with the financial institutions and that you can't do anything. You can. The only thing is that the bank would not tell you this, but if you're a politician and especially if you were a member of parliament that passed the law, then you ought to know the laws and the amendments and regulations that you pass in parliament, in the National
Right.
Assembly. You ought to know
Right.
about them. So it does not mean ordinarily that no PEP can do business with financial institutions. They can, but they will be subjecting them. Sorry, they will be subjected, or they are subjected, to heightened due diligence, and the AML Act and regulation prescribe what those heightened due diligence entail, and they're subject to heightened scrutiny, their
Mm.
transactions. So they're
Mm.
not prevented from, but just that they will be subject to a heightened level of greater degree of scrutiny and due diligence in contrast to a customer who is in the low risk category. Okay?
Mm. Mm.
Now,
Mm.
under the Act, the banks are empowered to file a suspicion transaction report. So you can still maintain your account. And if the bank sees an unusual pattern of transactions, they can choose to, if they have reasonable grounds, they can choose to close your account. Or if they don't have reasonable grounds, but they have reasonable grounds to suspect that these are suspicious transactions, they file what is called a suspicious transaction report to the Financial Intelligence Unit.
Mm.
And you won't even know that that is filed. You won't even know that that is filed. In this case, however, in this case, the risk, the high risk, has actually been realized, whereby you are sanctioned by OFAC, whereby you're so this risk that we're talking about under the ML Act is the risk has been realized because you're now sanctioned, and therefore the bank has no other choice but to sever ties and everybody else that associate with you. That's
No,
the law.
Joel.
That's the
So
regulation.
right. So these candidates, you could say they have put themselves at risk by
Absolutely.
association. Now, what
Absolutely.
message does this send to future candidates about aligning themselves with tainted sources of funding?
Well, my message is this. My message is this. If you want to run for office, the fact that you want to associate yourself with a political party, which is fine, you want to pursue political ambition, which is to contest, to become part of a government, to form part of a government, and not necessarily the government if you lose the election. If you lose the election, you can choose to form part of the legislature as the opposition. As long as you have made that choice to build a political career as a policymaker on whichever side, whether government side or opposition side, even if
Mhm.
you're opposition side, you're still considered policymaker vis-a-vis the role that you play through the National Assembly, like the
Right,
legislator.
right, right,
As long as you've chosen that career path, you ought to know about the job description that you're signing up to. You ought to know about Anti-Money Laundering Act. You ought to know about the regulations. You ought to know about these international conventions and treaties. You ought to know about the implications of of these international treaties as regards our financial system. You ought to know about these things. You can't want to be a policymaker or be in government or sit in the legislature and you don't know about these things. Then how am I electing you to run a country and you don't even know your job description? The least you can do is learn. The least you can do is read,
right,
educate yourself. Because
right.
when you go and sit in parliament, imagine you're running for election, and whether you lose or win, you will be on I either side of
One
the
side.
National Assembly.
Right, right,
You will be on one side, and you have to sit to pass and to debate bills, to pass or reject or whatever you choose to do in the legislature in relation to policies, in relation to legislations. If you don't know anything about these things, then how are you running? Why would I why would I put a carpenter to do a mechanic's work?
you're right.
You understand? Why would
Yes,
I
I
bring
get
a
you.
carpenter to fix my car? He don't know anything. So you have to know your job description. You have to know
Right.
what you're signing up for. You have to educate yourself about these things. Now,
No,
the other important point I want to make, Cardell, is that this same group of people and collectively the opposition, they want, it is their desire, knowing that they can't win the election. And so, if they can't win the election, they want to have a minority government whereby their combined opposition control the National Assembly. Again, a
right,
dispensation that we've had in the 2011 era.
right.
Now, and I made a public post about this. I want people to go and read our recent history and educate yourself. In 2015, we don't have to look at case studies in other countries. In the 2011 and 2014 era, leading up to the snap election, in fact, the primary reason why we had the snap election, why President Donald Ramotar called the snap election after he prorogued Parliament, was because for anti-money laundering again. Recall I said in my opening statement that this anti-money laundering law that was enacted in Ghana flows from an international convention to protect, as long as you're integrated in the international financial system, you have you are obligated to adopt these conventions and pass the laws in your country, and
Mm.
and implement the laws and develop the institutions and so on.
Right.
Creating, establishing the legislative framework and establishing the institutions thereunder, to execute the functions, the regulatory functions. So, pursuant to that, we are subject to periodic review by the international body which is called FATF, Financial Action Task Force. That is the international body, and there is the Caribbean arm of that international body with responsibility for the Caribbean, that is called CFATF, Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. So we are subject to periodic country review in terms of our implementation of the EML conventions, the EML framework, and to assess how we're doing in terms of implementation, how those institutions, whether there is prosecution, whether those institutions are functioning as they ought to in accordance with the laws and the regulation.
Right.
In that 2011-2014 period, following the review that was done then, the FATF identified a number of deficiencies that we had to address, we had to remedy by way of amendment to the Act. And because of the deadlock in Parliament, the opposition refused to pass the legislation, refused to pass the amendments to remedy those deficiencies following that country review. And a couple of years elapsed, and the international body started to take action. And one of the action it took was to grey list the country.
I
So
remember that.
before you get to blacklist, now if you become a blacklisted country, then the international community, the international financial system, your international correspondent banks have no choice but to sever ties from you, which means you will be cut off from the international financial system, which means your country and your people will be crippled if you're cut off.
Mm. I think you're switching over to data there. You out to the Wi-Fi zone.
You will be completely crippled if you're blacklisted. So we were getting to the blacklist. We were grey listed. So now the international banking sector started to take precaution, and the local banking sector was so worried. I was in
Right.
banking at that time, and the local banking sector, the Bankers Association, they were so worried what is going to happen, because it's not the banks alone will be in trouble, the whole country will be in trouble, right? And so, because of the deadlock in Parliament and we becoming grey listed, the former President Ramatora called for snap election, and the rest is history. So, so those who are asking for minority government, that is the consequence of minority government, which we should never ever go back to in this country, because it hasn't worked in the past, and it is catastrophic. It is detrimental. When you can't pass legislation in Parliament, you and the opposition come and cut budgets. They stopped the bridge that was the bridge was supposed to have been built, start construction since then. They blocked that. They blocked the hydro. They
Yeah.
blocked the specialty hospitals. So minority government is not good for this country. It's not good for our future. And so that is why we have to work hard. We have to work hard. The PPP has to work hard. And Guyanese who are doing their independent analysis and understand the implications, and those who don't, we have to educate them. And you don't have to take my word. Please go and read for yourself. Go and research and educate for yourself. I we have we have a responsibility as professionals and public commentators and analysts to put this information and do these type of analysis in the public domain for public consumption. But you don't have to believe it. Go and do your own research. Go and verify these things that I'm talking about.
Right.
Go and read about it. Now, let's talk about Venezuela. Venezuela is a country now, we were on the brink of becoming blacklisted. I went through that. Venezuela is sanctioned. Maduro himself is sanctioned and the country is sanctioned. Now, you ever wonder how Venezuela is surviving? Now, the question is not how Venezuela is surviving. The question is, the fact is that Venezuela has declined from one of the richest countries in the region to one of the poorest countries in the region. They're characterized by the worst humanitarian crisis, the worst social and economic crisis, the worst political crisis. And they are a perfect example. They're blacklisted by virtue of being sanctioned, they're blacklisted. They're cut off from the international financial system. That is why they have to smuggle. That is why they have to smuggle. And while the people suffer, the people are the ones who suffer in the country, but the regime is not suffering.
Right.
The Maduro regime is surviving, and you know why they're surviving? The Maduro regime and his allies, particularly the military that protects him, are engaged in trading of drugs, illegal activities, illegal trading and money laundering of drugs and gold smuggling. That's how they're surviving. So they're well taken care of. Similar
Right.
here with the sanctioned individual here, the T. Mohammed. He is sanctioned, but he has over $10 billion in cash stocks in vaults in his house. So that money could take care of him
A
and
long
another
time.
generation and five more generations, right? So he is not affected financially by the sanction because his money, and this is another thing, that I forgot to mention, which is important. They go and claim to the electorate, he is going and tell the electorate that the government victimizing him. And these people now buying into that they're being victimized. Cordell, the fact of the matter is that if the government really, if the government really wanted to cripple them,
Yeah.
if the government really wanted to cripple them, they had every legal power under the EML Act to
Right.
freeze their bank accounts, to freeze their financial assets. And because that is provided for in the EML legislation.
Right.
The moment OFAC put that out, the authorities could have, if they really wanted to cripple them, if they really wanted to victimize them, they could have freeze their bank accounts, their financial assets. Instead, they were allowed to close their account and walk away with truckloads of cash and store it in their premise. So you have to really think and read the act. Read part 4 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Go on Bank of Ghana website and read part 4 that speaks to free frozen assets from section 38 all the way to 38 to 63 or something, right? Read
Yeah.
those provisions in the act. The government could have frozen those accounts and he would not have gotten a cent. He is accused of evading $10 billion in taxes. The government was legally empowered to freeze his account, but they did not. They did not. So when you're coming and talking about victimizing, they victimize me, and you get to walk away with your money that could take care of you and 10 more generations. Something is wrong with you. Something
No,
is
Joel,
really wrong.
I wanna ask you from a legal standpoint. I know that you're not a lawyer, but you have an in-depth knowledge of this act, the
The
anti,
financial laws, yes, I do.
right, the
Financial
financial
laws.
laws. Now, we've heard talk of Miss Natasha Smith Lewis seeking legal advice to challenges in court in relation to the banks. What can you tell us? Is there a
No,
legal way?
that, Cordell, I would encourage her. I would encourage her, and if I had money, I would even pay the lawyer fees. You know why? You know why? Because that would put this matter to rest.
Okay.
Go through the court, test it in the court, go all the way to the CCJ. put this matter to test, and that would put this matter to rest about victimization and political victimization. Go to court, challenge it, please, please do, please. Let me start a GoFundMe to pay the lawyer fees. And the other thing, as I'm talking about lawyer fees, right?
Right.
Remember, I said, and most of us were saying, according to the OFAC sanctions, any individual associate with the sanctioned entity, they're exposing themselves to the compliance risk, which we've
Right.
seen manifested. Now, the only persons who would not be strictly affected is an attorney or lawyers, because by law, everybody is entitled to legal
Entitled to
counsel and due
representation. Right.
process.
Right.
So
Right.
his legal team, they would not be the subject of the risk because of their profession, save and except, of course, if his legal team, I'm not saying it is, I'm just giving an example, save and except if his lawyers or anybody from his legal team or the legal team for a sanctioned entity is found to be engaged in the facilitation of the perpetuation of the legal activities, then they will be exposed to the risk. But if then they too will be subject to the sanction. But if they are providing strictly legal counsel and representing them legally on these cases, then they're the only persons who will not be the subject of the sanction, but everybody else
Right.
will.
Right. No, I wanted to ask you. These accounts were closed sometime yesterday, or I shouldn't say closed. They have an
They were
opportunity to
notified. They were
close it,
notified. Yes.
notified sometime yesterday. What is the possibility of these persons being able to open accounts at other commercial banks?
None. Very slim, because I see in the press conference that they're saying that the bank was unprofessional. They didn't provide a reason. The bank doesn't have to give you a reason. The bank does not have to give you a
A
reason.
term that was used, Joel, was they have a license, so they have to facilitate Guyanese banking. Could you clear that up for us?
No, well, let them go read the Financial Institutions Act and the regulations thereunder on on the requirements under which an institution is given a license, as well as the conditionalities, if the financial institution is in breach of the EML. If they're in breach, what will happen to their license? So, in fact, by them referencing that these banks are licensed to conduct banking business, they're licensed to conduct legitimate banking businesses, and within the legislative framework that governs the financial sector and regulates the financial sector, that includes the anti-money laundering law and regulations, and in compliance with the anti-money laundering law, if you are found to be in breach of that act and you are found to be a risk to that institution, then in accordance with the functions and the conditionalities upon which the banks are granted their license to operate, fiduciary duty. Cardell, you there? You got
Yeah,
that?
I'm here. You're breaking up a little bit, but we stop at the banks have a duty.
Again, I don't want. Yeah. Now, let me go that again because I saw the thing. The banks, financial institutions are granted a license to conduct banking business in Guyana under the Financial Institutions Act.
Right.
And I would urge those persons who are citing the license, let them go and read the Financial Institutions Act and let them go and read the criteria and the conditionalities upon which a financial institution is issued with a banking license. A financial institution issued with a banking license does not automatically mean that they must do business with an entity or a customer that exposes the financial system to any sort of risk. The banks operate within a regulatory framework. The banks operate within a legal and regulatory framework, which they are required to comply with the Anti-Money Laundering Act. And if a customer is in breach of the Anti-Money Laundering Act and the regulations thereunder, then that financial institution has a fiduciary responsibility to take the necessary remedial action, which includes terminating those accounts to protect
Right.
the financial system. So the bank has actually acted in accordance with its fiduciary responsibility pursuant to its banking license, governing its banking license.
Mm-mm. No, there are several politically prominent persons that have signed on to Team Mohammed. Natasha Smith Lewis is just one of them. I don't consider the guy, the personal assistant to Lewingfield, as a person of interest. He's just someone that's affected. Do you think more closures are in the pipeline for people like um, David Hines' daughter, former MP, Mike Goring? He's I think he's the vice chairman for region number 10. These are politically exposed persons. Do you think, in your assessment, based on what we've seen so far, do you think more account closures or things like this are in the pipeline?
Yes, they are now exposed themselves to the same risk. You see, they were safe over by APNU. If they had remained with APNU, if
Go ahead, but sorry. Oh, oh Lord.
if they had stayed with APNU, this would not have happened because APNU and nobody in APNU is sanctioned by OFAC.
Right,
But they're all PEPs, but they're not sanctioned, so they can go about doing their business as per normal. But they will be subject as per normal to the heightened due diligence and scrutiny and so on. But
right,
the bank would not tell them that. And they could go and do their transactions as per normal.
right,
The moment they went across to the sanctioned party, all of them, all of those persons who are on the national list, the national and regional list, all of them are subject to uh, the same risk and the same action. So it is only a matter of time that we can expect to see those action being taken, and
yeah.
we may not know some of them. This group made a lot of noise about it, but I think those particular individuals that you mentioned, the other girl, the David Hines daughter, I think she is more sensible. um I think she's a little bit more sensible, so I don't think that she would make a public spectacle about it.
Mm. No, there has been some persons. I see somebody here asking about Mr. De France. Now, some persons have been saying that some of the individuals who have joined this sanction group, they would have claimed that, okay, look, we're not collecting any money. But how do you separate the financing for campaigning and you being a part of that campaign and not receiving from, well, you might receive cash, but you're receiving things that the cash purchase.
It's like saying it's like if I tell my wife I'm going to the strip club, but I'm not gonna do
You're not gonna do
participate.
nothing.
I'm not gonna participate. It's like the
Manuel, you
it's akin to that sort of thing, right?
yes,
If you go to a strip club, what are you gonna do in the strip club? You're not gonna
right.
participate in whatever.
Oh Lord. Beautiful example. Beautiful example. Oh my goodness.
If me and my
Joel.
wife go, that's fine. But if me alone go, that's a different matter.
Exactly. I understand. Joel, listen, we gotta have you back on the program. We out of time. Thank you for bringing some clarity to this matter for us and helping us understand better what actually drove this decision by the bank and to dispel all these rumors of political persecution, as some persons are thinking. Before you go, again, any advice to persons willing to still associate themselves with certain individuals to their own detriment?
Read the FATF reports on Guyana, the review on on Guyana between the period 2013, 2014, all the way to present to see how we have evolved, how when we were grey listed, the deficiencies, we've remedied it, and even when the APNU was in power in the 2015 period and they passed their own amendments, there were still deficiencies which the PPP had to come back and correct again in this term.
Right.
Flowing from, and you will see that in all these reports are public. So all those persons who want to become parliamentarians, this is serious business. You have to educate yourself about these things. You can't be ignorant about it and claim victimization. You're just making yourself look stupid, and you're lacking the knowledge thereof. Educate yourself. Read these reports. Read the international conventions on anti-money laundering. There is a these things are publicly accessible. Check the United Nations website.
Mm.
Read our own money laundering act, which you can find on the Bank of Guyana website. Special, especially drawing reference to Part 4, Sections 38 to 63 or 60 something, all those provisions as regards frozen assets and the instruments on the legal instruments that the government is empowered to do, which they did not use in relation to the sanctioned entity. So when you're claiming about victimization, then you got to rethink that. If you were really, if I was Maharajah, okay, if I was the PPP, and I really felt that this individual is a threat, as they're making it out to be, the opponents, that is, that, oh, the PPP is scared and they frightened this man. If that was true, then all I had to do is to invoke those powers, those legal powers, those legal tools under Part 4, those provisions under Part 4 of the Act, and freeze all his assets. He won't get a cent. He would be a
Right.
pauper. He would be a pauper on the street. He would have to sell the property, and nobody would even buy it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so read and understand, read and comprehend those provisions, and read the regulations as well. Educate yourself about it. Don't listen to me and take my word at face value. Go and do your own independent research. All of those persons on the list, they're educated people, they're sensible people. They are not unequipped. Just go and read and educate yourself.
Joel, I can't let you go without asking for update on the debate between you and Dr. Defoe of France.
Oh, he said that he was told not to engage in any debate, which is expected. That's the order. That's the instructions from the presidential hopeful candidate.
And lastly, as somebody who understands economics, somebody who understands finance, the fact that all we hear in relation to policy is very soon, very shortly, as an economist, as a financial analyst, what does that say about at least their plans for the future of this country, this close to elections?
Very soon, very shortly, we will go to the polls and we will see the result that we have largely a smart population. Those Some of those persons associating themselves, they're just looking out for their self-interest, what they could get, without understanding the repercussions. You can't put out a policy or a manifesto, and then you barefacedly telling the press last night that, oh, we're waiting to see what other people can put out, and then we can put out. I mean, I mean that is so silly, so stupid, so stupid. If you are so confident, put out your original plan. Put
Right.
out your original plan, but they can't. They're incapable of doing so. They're incapable of doing so, and the electorate, when that time comes for them to make that serious decision about their future, their children's future, they're not going to put their future at risk. They're not. The electorate is not going to do that.
Right, right. Joel, I see somebody in the comment section saying today is your birthday.
Me, no, my birthday is in November.
Because I wanted to know, I see somebody say happy birthday, Joel. I think it's
No,
Sally Jones.
my daughter birthday was the other day, which I posted. Probably that's what you're referring to.
Oh, I was wondering what going on.
Yeah, my daughter.
Can't get no invite to the party or nothing. I go for action, man. How we living? So look at right here. Oh, well, happy
Oh, it
belated.
was
Right,
my
right.
daughter's birthday.
Belated,
It was my
belated.
daughter's birthday.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
They're
okay.
probably
All
seeing
right,
my
Joel.
Facebook post. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you to that individual. Thank you.
Right. Joel, thank you for being here. We're going to have you back on a little later in the week to discuss some more things. And we'll be getting behind the agenda going again pretty soon. So persons can look out for that for more analysis from our very own Joel Bagwood. And have a wonderful day. Stay safe on the road, Joel, and I'll see you around.
Thank you, Courdel. Have a good one.
Right. So that's Joel Bagwood and breaking it down for you. You have a better understanding of the bank's position and what are the implications if banks don't take a certain position, right? Anyway, guys, I am out of here. Definitely tomorrow we will either have Daniel or Gita, one of the two. Definitely tomorrow we can start that out for you guys. Thank you for tuning into the program as usual. Please make sure you share, like, follow, subscribe on whichever platform you're looking at us on. Special good morning to Miss Marisha Sami, Eunice Raghuber, morning to you. Jane from St. Martin, good morning. I saw Carla Daniels and Connie Blair, morning to you. Uptown Soren, morning to you. I hope you're still cooking, brother. Norman Aziz, morning. Derek Itwaru, good morning to you. Bharat Mangar, morning. Gita Prasad, morning. Peter Saunders, morning to you. Miklal Bridgelal, morning. Tara Babulal, morning. I didn't say morning to you guys. I still want to say hello to you guys. Hope you all have a wonderful day. I am about to shut it down. So as I usually say before I go, it's all about peace. It's all about love. One Guyana.
We are a peaceful people, struggle as we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down.